Q&A. So if you have questions, we encourage you to drop them into the chat, and we promise that by the end of the presentation, we will be able to go over everything and make sure that everybody this evening leaves with all their questions being answered. So I feel like then we're in a pretty good place to get it kicked off. So I am going to turn it over to our amazing head of school at HLA, Daniela, and I'll turn it over to you. We can jump right in.
Thanks, Roger. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to log on and invest some time in your child's education. And tonight's goal for me and for Roger is really to help you make the right choice, the best choice for you and your family, and for me to kind of give you a bunch of information about how wonderful our school is and what makes it so special. You can go ahead. Before I jump in here, I just want to super quick introduction about me. So I've been working at HLA since 2016. I started out teaching second grade and went back to school and got my degree in administration and kind of just grew up at HLA and was super blessed a few years ago. This is my third year as the head of school, to get the opportunity to run the school. I am born and raised in Brooklyn. I have 3 young children, and I'm just super excited to every year to share with new families and kind of welcome them to the school. So I'm really excited to be here. And I think the most important thing at the end is that we answer your questions, because I know that asking your questions is a really important part of making a decision. So that's that. We can we're going to play a short video for you from some families just sharing a little bit about our school.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing for staff members to talk up the school, but I think that it's another thing for our families and parents to talk it up too. So it's a long video. We'll show maybe half of it and jump through, but hopefully this will give you some perspective from our current families.
My name is Arvin. I'm a first grader from HLA. The teachers are nice, and we have some fun specials. We are part of the HLA. I'm Dina. And I'm Jacob. What I love most subject is science, because I get to do experiments and learn all about the world.
And I love that I'm able to communicate with his teachers at any time.
I'm Marsha.
I'm Eliana. I love HLA because my teachers are amazing and because they care about me.
Whether it be
So that was a quick little testimonials from some of our families, but I think it's a really special community, and like I said, it's not just us talking about it, but our families too. So turn it back.
And Jacob is in 8th grade now. He's graduating from our school, and Eliana is still in our school. So these are kids that have really grown up at HLA. So it's nice to hear their feedback. So just our agenda for tonight, just so you know what to expect. We'll give you a little bit of info about what a charter school is, if that's something that's new for you. I know as a parent, when my kids first started school, I had no idea what the difference was between a private school, a public school, a charter school. So we'll make sure that you have that information. I'll talk a little bit about who works at the school and who runs the school, give you some exciting stuff about our mission and values, which really drives everything that we do. We'll talk for sure about the curriculum and make sure you have all your questions answered about that. We'll do some FAQs, and then we'll talk about our engagement with families and our communication with families at the school. Okay, so there are a lot of wonderful people that run the school and that work at the school. These are just some of them. So that's me. It's an old picture of me that I have not changed. That's Miss Kim. She's the Dean of Culture at HLA. She's one of our Deans of Culture, actually. Mr. Sutton is a Dean of Students, and he's someone that you will meet very quickly when you come to the school. And he does a lot of work with all of our teachers. And one thing that is really pertinent right now is that he's working with all of our 8th graders and helping them apply to high school and making good decisions about, their future. So that's really important. So you'll meet him early and you'll know him until the end. Vladislavas is one of our deans of academics. We have 3 of them. So there are deans that work with grade bands. And so every teacher in the building has a coach, and that coach is basically a veteran teacher who has grown into a leader and is able to support every single teacher individually and help them grow. Rachel Reyes is our Dean of Hebrew. She's in charge of all of the Hebrew instruction at the school. And Chelsea Hopper is the Dean of Student Support Services. So anything that has to do with any type of support for your child, whether it's an IEP or they're an English language learner, or they need literacy intervention, any of those things, she's the person that will help you with that. Okay, so as promised, what's a charter school? So charter school is a public school. It doesn't cost any money to go there. We don't have any admissions requirements, so no tests or anything like that to get in. But we do have a lottery. So once you apply, your child's name is entered into a lottery. And on the date of the lottery, you find out if you get a seat or not. Charter schools, we are held to the same standards as district schools. So whatever the DOE requires their schools to do educationally, pretty much you can expect almost the same at a charter school. And also, applying to a charter school doesn't affect your chances of getting into any other school. So if you are not sure and you think you might want to go to HLA, but you're also considering another school, that is absolutely fine. Please apply to both, and one does not affect your chances of getting into the other.
100%. And so when we do get to the end of the presentation, right before the questions, I will share a little bit more about the lottery and what that looks like and how the preferences and priorities work. And so we'll get to that at the end of the presentation too, because I know folks have a lot of questions about that.
Okay. So HLA is part of Hebrew Public. That's the network that we are part of. And we work really closely. Roger works for Hebrew Public, right? We work really closely with Hebrew Public. They're our charter management organization, and they support us in many ways and help us make a lot of great decisions. They also shape the vision and the mission of our network. And so it's really important to know that our mission is leading a national movement of exceptional, diverse public charter schools that teach modern Hebrew to children of all backgrounds and prepare them to be successful global citizens. So one thing that we teach our students to do is when they read, we teach them to like a close read, right? Pick out the important facts or the keywords. So if I were a student at HLA and I were doing a close read, I would say the key parts of this mission to note is that one, diverse public charter school. That's really important, right? We are diverse by design and we take pride in that. We teach modern Hebrew to kids of all backgrounds. To me, like this is something so special about our school and about our network. It is not something that you will find in any typical school in Brooklyn and New York, right? And it really makes us stand out and makes the kids that go to our school have an extra special factor that they take with them into their life. And lastly, we prepare them to be global citizens. That's a part of our mission. We really want to prepare kids for the world and prepare them to contribute positively to the world, right? And that's really our goal and our dream. And that's why when our kids graduate and go to great high schools and do amazing things for the community, we just watch and we're so proud of them because that's really our mission as a school. Our values, so lots of schools have different core values that they kind of teach kids every day and embed in all of their learning and instruction. So Hebrew Public chose OLAM as the acronym for our values. OLAM stands for Outstanding Problem Solvers, which we teach all of our kids to be. Lifelong learners, which is we should all be lifelong learners, always teaching them to keep learning, inquire, ask questions. We teach them to be aware communicators, right? Which is a really important thing in life. And of course, we teach them to make a difference, give back to the community, do what's right in the world. And that's an HLA graduate. Okay, so since we're on Zoom tonight and we can't walk around the school, which we will, because hopefully you'll come for a tour, but for this moment, we just put a couple of random pictures that give you a little glimpse of some of the magic at our school. So on the left, you'll see pre-K kids with sanitation workers. This was a community workers day. They got to meet all of the helpers in their community, and they got to go onto a garbage truck, which was their favorite thing, interestingly enough. And they're really cute. And our pre-K kids are our youngest learners in the school. And so kids at HLA could start their education at 4 years old and start learning Hebrew as early as 4 years old and really grow up with us. And that makes us really special. And then on the right, there's just a picture of one of our classrooms, just to give you a glimpse of what you can expect. A lot of parents are like, how could it be that a public school has Hebrew? How does it work? How does it fit together? So this is just a little hint of what it looks like. And you'll notice in the photo, there's a Hebrew alphabet at the top. There's Hebrew numbers and colors and shapes. And then right under that, there is a library full of English books that are displayed, and their highlight books are displayed at the top of the shelves. And this is what you could expect to see in any of our classrooms at HLA.
And I will echo what Daniela mentioned earlier. We don't just want you to see it on Zoom. We would love for you to come in, see our school, what it looks like during a typical day with students, get to observe some instruction. So at the end of the presentation as well, I'll have the link for you, but we would love for you to visit our website at hebrewpublic.org. Make your way over to the HLA page, and in big red font, you'll see the link to sign up for school tours. We try to do at least one a month. And then after we hold our lottery, we try to hold lots more weekly post lottery. So you can come in, check everything out. And if you need help filling out your registration, we can make that happen too. So we hope to see you in the building soon.
So if you have a little one, this is the playground that we have. This is a really nice feature of our school because it is fully enclosed. It is built to be a playground, right? So it's not concrete. It's like the special mat that they put in the playground. This is attached to all of our preschool classrooms. They each have a door that leads to the playground. And this is where the kids go every day, as long as it's warm enough, and they get to go out and play with their friends. So it's definitely something that the kids really, really enjoy. Okay, let's jump into some academics. So like I said before, our ELA and math curriculum are all aligned to the New York State standards. And of course, at HLA, we really pride ourselves on having differentiated instruction, which means that we really try to work hard to make sure that every student gets what they need, whether that could mean that they need an IEP and we want to make sure they get what's on their IEP. It could mean that they're a tiny bit behind in reading and that we get an extra teacher to help them. And it could mean that they're really advanced in math and that we put them in our after school program to challenge them and give them more high level work, right? So whatever that means for every child, it's really important to us that our teachers target every student and what they need. We use data from, actually, we just started this year using iReady. We used NWEA for a long time. So pardon the slide here, but we just started using iReady, very similar to NWEA in the sense that it's computerized testing that the kids take at the beginning of the year. They also take it in the middle and the end. And it gives us a really objective picture of how they're doing in math and reading. And it helps us to make decisions about instruction. So it gives us kind of a baseline. It helps us to make small groups. And the iReady that we just started using this year also gives them activities and material and work on the computer based on their level on the diagnostic testing. So it's definitely a nice thing that is really helpful for us, because especially if we have new students, it's really the best way to figure out what they need and where they are academically. We also have a lot of other components. These are just a few. We have Hebrew, We have science. We have a bunch of different specials that I'll talk about. We have gym, we have music, we have art. We also have Hebrew dance, which is really nice. And the music for the lower school is Hebrew music. So those are 2 classes that give us a chance to really infuse Israeli culture into the day for our kids. The kids love dancing and singing, so it's a nice thing for them, and they get to learn Hebrew while they're doing it. Okay, so all of the grades and the classes have different schedules, but this is just a sample schedule to give you a little bit of an idea of how things flow. Things to notice here, not so much the times, because the times always change. We do start at 8 o'clock, so that's accurate. From 7:30 to 8 o'clock, we open our doors at 7:30. From 7:30 to 8 o'clock, kids could really eat breakfast if they'd like. They don't have to, but it's free hot breakfast, and it's kosher. So they have the opportunity to eat breakfast. And then at 8 o'clock, we actually start our morning meeting or advisory, depending on the grade. And then the rest of these are just classes that we offer. So like I was talking about Hebrew dance before, we have guided reading, which is really small group literacy. We have math, we have Hebrew. Hebrew is taught every day. We have lunch and recess. Students in grades 3 and up eat in the cafeteria, and students in grades pre-K through 2 eat in their classrooms. We have ELA. So we have a few components of ELA. We have expeditionary learning. Sorry about my dog. Expeditionary learning, and we also have close reading. We do have music. We teach foundations to grades K through 2. So that's phonics, and it teaches them reading, writing, and spelling. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And then we have science, and dismissal begins at 3 o'clock. Kids start to pack up, and we dismiss 3:30 is pickup time. Here's a sample schedule for middle school. As you can see, it looks totally different because they are bigger kids and they have a lot more going on in their day. But just things to note here, same 7:30 to 8 o'clock is arrival and breakfast. They have advisory. You'll notice that once or twice a week, the Hebrew teacher joins advisory so that they have Hebrew time there too. They have special. So right now our middle schoolers have, they have band and they have art. It's one or the other, and they get to choose. So we do have wind instruments. It's a brand new band that we started this year. Or they can choose art, which is drawing and sculpture. And then they also have gym. They have Hebrew every day, of course. They have science. You can go to the next one. They have ELA and math. They have lunch in the cafeteria. Also, one thing to note is that they have 2 periods of ELA a day and 2 periods of math, right? So that's about 85 minutes a day of each, and it's broken down into different components. How loud is the dog barking in the?
We can hardly hear it.
And then at the end of the day, this is a 7th and 8th grade schedule. So they're a little bit different, that their day is a drop longer. They do have electives at the end of the day, and that's a chance for them to take something like pre-algebra if they choose that, or they can take art. They also have home economics. They have animation. They have a lot of different electives. So our 7th and 8th graders are kind of like getting ready for high school and learning what it is to build your own program. And so they do have electives at the end of the day, which puts their end time at 3:45.
And so I can't remember, Danielle, if we dropped it in or not, but I think one thing that you maybe alluded to a little bit, but I know there are also some Regents offerings as well at HLA. Can you remind me, because sometimes I forget all of them as well, what Regents classes are available to 8th graders at HLA?
Thanks for asking. This is one of my favorite, most exciting things. Our 8th graders technically could take 3 Regents, which we encourage them to do. Our entire 8th grade takes living environment, which is basically 9th grade biology. That isn't optional. They all take it at this point instead of 8th grade science. We do have a cohort of students, which is this year it's in one whole class. taking algebra in 8th grade instead of 8th grade math. So they also take the algebra region. And then students that are prepared and ready can take the Hebrew region, which certain high schools accept those credits as well. So technically they can take 3 regions, and many of our students do. And it's definitely a great thing to go into high school with credits. So that's something nice that we are. Okay. So like I mentioned before, every day starts with morning meeting in elementary school or advisory in middle school. This is really a very important time for our students. That's why we are very serious about kids being on time in the morning so that they don't miss this time. This is a time where their advisory teacher, which is their homeroom teacher, gets to talk about different topics with the kids. This is a time for conflict resolution, for learning about holidays, right? Things that just don't fit into ELA and math and science, they get to do during morning meeting advisory. This is a skill building time. They teach SEL topics. So it's a really, really important time, and kids really look forward to it. It gets them grounded for the day. And it really gives them a chance to like talk and think about things that are outside the box. Okay, so Hebrew is a huge part of our culture at HLA, of course. We do have 40 minutes of Hebrew every day. We use the proficiency approach. I'm sorry. So if that's new for you, basically what that means is that kids just hear, sing, do all different things in Hebrew. They just get exposed to it, right? So rather than learning from a textbook and memorizing verbs or conjugations or things like that, they just are immersed in the world of Hebrew, right? So that's kind of in pre-K and kindergarten, you'll hear them singing different songs in Hebrew. If you walk into one of our rooms in like November, December, you'll see every child knows all the words, right? And how could it be, right? They didn't study every single one of those words, but it's proficiency approach. They're just immersed in it. The focus is on speaking Hebrew, using conversational Hebrew, and understanding like a native Israeli Hebrew speaker. So it's really cool, and it's nice to watch, and it's interesting to see how quickly little kids could pick up Hebrew. We do have 2 teachers in every class, which means that they're able to break up into small groups. So a novice Hebrew speaker would be in one group, whereas a more advanced Hebrew speaker might be in another.
And I think on our next slide, we have just like a little snippet from some of our elementary students from a few years ago, but it, will just give you a taste of, how much growth our students can make learning a second language. So we'll check that out now.
סבתא, מותר לי לשבת איתך במקום להתנחת עם אמא ואבא שלי?
לא, אני לא רוצה. את רחוק מאמא ואבא שלך. אני יודעת, אמא לא תסכים.
אבל זה לא פייר, כבר כולם אומרים לי לא.
אל תדאגי, את רחוק לבוא לבקר.
אני עדיין לא חושבת שזה פייר.
I really like that video because, you can see 2 students of different ability levels, but, I think a lot of families that come to our school, I think a question that we get asked a lot is, we don't speak Hebrew at home, or we don't really have any connection to the language of Hebrew. Is that going to work against, my child or student? And the answer is absolutely not. Many of the students who started our schools, they don't come with any Hebrew. And so it's always really wonderful to see them go from, nothing at all. And after a few weeks of school, it's, you kind of see exponential growth, and it's really exciting to see. And so I don't know, that's why we chose this video. Really enjoy this one.
Yeah, agreed. And another, just one thing to also note about this video is like, there was no interruptions, there were no corrections, right? We let kids just work through it. The grammar of the student on the left, right, which is a novice Hebrew speaker, was not perfect, but it was great. And the other student who was a native speaker understood what she was trying to say. And that's exactly what we work on in Hebrew, right? Even if you're new, you figure it out. And as long as we understand what you're trying to say, that's success. And so the goal is that when you're an 8th grader and you hopefully go on our Israel trip, you can go to the market and you can ask for, corn and ask them how much it costs in Hebrew. And that's something that's really cool. Okay, in terms of special education and ELL services, I mentioned this earlier about Ms. Halpern. Any services that are on your child's IEP, for the most part, we do provide at the school. So anything on an IEP that is a full class size, we can make it happen. So if it's an ICT class, which requires 2 teachers, we have that. What we don't have, just in case it applies to you, what we don't have is small classes, like a 12 to 1-to-1, 8 to 1-to-1. At this point at HLA, unfortunately, we don't offer that. We just don't have the staff or the capacity for that right now. But we do have all of the other services on site. So if your child gets speech therapy, OT, PT, they all come to our school. If your child gets sets, we have a few sets providers that are part of our staff. Of course, if your child has a para, that's provided by the agency. We do have counseling with one of our in-house counselors. And of course, any type of English language learner services that your child needs, we fully provide that. We have 3 MLL providers at this time. Okay, so just some little nitty-gritty details from ops. So we do have 180 days of school. I believe this year we have 182. It just depends on what's required. We do follow the Department of Ed calendar for most breaks and holidays. So sometimes we have a couple of extra days, which you'll notice that we might start one day before the DOE or something like that. But for the most part, it's almost the same. We do provide free Department of Ed busing to anyone who's eligible. So as long as you live a certain distance from the school and your child is in 6th grade or younger, they qualify for yellow bus. Just note that those are not our buses. They are DOE buses. Right now we use Consolidated, that's the company. And so they route the buses, they assign the buses, and we just help you get all the information and make sure you know where to get on the bus. Our school hours are actually from 8 o'clock until 3:30.
Sorry about that.
No worries. I'm sure that some kids would love school to start at 8:45, but it doesn't. So we start at 8. 8 is the first bell. By 8:05, students are marked tardy. So it's really important for kids to get to school on time and start, the learning on time. We do have a Department of Health nurse. There's always a nurse on site. She is someone that we're very familiar with, but if she's ever absent or not able to come in, they do send a replacement. So they come from the Department of Health. Lunch and recess. So we do offer free breakfast and lunch. It is certified kosher. The younger kids also receive an end of day snack. And if your child is in after school program, we also provide them with a snack there. It's usually hot lunch on half days and Fridays. We do have a grab and go. So it's a paper bag with like a sandwich and a snack inside. Lunch is served in the classrooms, like I said, for the little ones. And for grades 3 through 8, we do have a cafeteria where they eat. Every month we'll send you a menu just so you know what we're offering. So if there's like one day that your son is like, I don't like hamburgers, you'll know which day that is and you can send lunch from home. As we showed you in the photo, we do have an enclosed playground for pre-K and kindergarten. And this year, 1st grade is also using that yard. And then we have a separate play space for everyone else, which is basically a wraparound yard that goes around. It is completely gated and locked. The only time we unlock that side yard is during dismissal. We do have a full-size gym, which you must come and see because it's really, really beautiful. And in that gym, we also have a stage, and that is the place that we turn into a performing arts space when we have shows or assemblies or things like that. We do have uniforms at our school. This year, we transitioned everyone to the same uniform. It's just a lot easier if kids have siblings and one's in middle school and one's in lower school, or kids move up and they didn't grow that much, it's just easier to use the same uniform. So everyone is allowed to wear navy blue pants or skirt. They can also wear khaki if they'd like. And on the top, it's a solid white, light blue, or navy top. Things that you can't wear are like t-shirts, right? So it has to have a collar. Also no jeans or leggings, things like that. So it's basically uniforms, but any sneakers, any safe shoes are just fine. After school programs, we do have a free after school program. It is also a lottery because a lot of families want it, and we have to cap each class at about 26 students in order for it to be great. So we do provide this for grades kindergarten through 5th grade. It's only Monday through Thursday because Fridays we do have a 1 p.m. dismissal, and pickup is at 5:30. We ask parents not to pick up before 5:15, so that kids could spend most of the time in the program and get the most out of it. If your child is going into middle school, they may not have this, but they have clubs that they can sign up for in October, and they meet once or twice a week. Okay, we have a lot of special events. We have a lot of cool things that we do at the school to really get kids engaged and get families connected. We have Spirit Week, where we have different themes each day and kids get to wear cool things. We have a lot of PTO events. So that's where our parent organization gets involved and hosts different events for our teachers, kids, and parents. We do celebrate Israel Independence Day, and we have a Israel Celebration Week. We do have Olam Awards, so that's Student of the Month. Every month you will be invited if your child wins Student of the Month. And then quarterly, so 4 times a year, we also have Honor Roll, Merit Roll, Principals Roll. And that is academic awards for high-performing students. So if your child is in that category, you'll also be invited to that. We celebrate Black History Month. We do a lot of fun stuff during that time to celebrate Black culture. We celebrate Israel, like I said, in Israel Week, and lots of other cultural activities throughout the year. We are closed on the federal holidays for the most part, like the same as the DOE. And we celebrate them as well. And we have a lot of end of year celebrations, like when kids are excited that the year's over, but they also have spring shows and concerts and things like that where kids could really show off what they've been doing the whole year.
You know what I'm realizing too, Danielle, and I think it was my fault. I neglected to drop it in, but I think one of the amazing things about HLA, especially for our middle schoolers, is I know there are a lot of sports in addition to the clubs, and there maybe is also a debate team. Do I have that one right too?
Yes.
What sports
Yeah.
are or do we do for middle school students if they're interested?
Great. So yes, our middle school students participate in a lot of sports. We're part of the Charter Athletics Association, which is a league that we join. And so our students are able to compete against other charter schools in our area. So we do have girls volleyball in the fall. We have basketball in the fall as well. Then we have co-ed basketball in the spring. We also have soccer. Let me think if I'm missing anything. Basketball, volleyball, soccer. Working on flag football. It's a little hard. We're like running out of space because we're sharing the gym for many sports, but that is the goal of ours. But yeah, kids really, really love sports, and it really keeps them motivated. They must have at least a 75 average to be in good academic standing. And so that could also be something that, if your child needs that push or that motivation to stay on track in school, sports could be the #1 ticket to that. So it's something that is really nice at our school. Communication is huge. We do communicate a lot with families. You may get tired of my emails, but I'm still going to send them. I send newsletters. Our teachers send newsletters. We do have social media. So we have Facebook. We have a parent group and a family group. We use Parent Square. That's a platform that every single HLA parent needs to download, and they get a code. And that's kind of how we send out messages, reminders, calendars, info, anything that you need. And every parent is also connected to their child's class where they can message the teacher, get messages from the teacher, and really keep in touch. We really pride ourselves on being pretty responsive to emails. So you could expect a response if it's not the weekend or a holiday within 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah, so I think that brings us to the Q&A portion. I'm gonna open up the chat here, Daniela, and maybe you've already done so, but I haven't really had the chance to see any of the questions. But maybe we can just generally go through, and I see some good ones here that I think will definitely be relevant to everybody. So there's one question, but I think we can maybe answer it generally, about how busing works and which students are eligible. So would you like me to talk a little bit about that one, or do you want to take a stab?
I don't mind, I can answer this. So will there be busing for Coney Island if my child attended the school? We do have students that live in Coney Island. And we definitely have buses. The only people that are not eligible for busing are obviously if you don't live in Brooklyn, which you wouldn't really be applying to the school, but sometimes kids are going between parents and things like that. We don't have buses outside of Brooklyn. And if you live too close to the school, so if like you live in Mill Basin and it's like really close to the school, you may not be eligible, which is not up to us, it's up to the Department of Education. And if your child is going to 7th or 8th grade, we don't have bus for them. How many students in a class? Our class sizes are around 30 students. Kindergarten is up to 20 and pre-K is up to 18. IEPs, I hope I answered that in my speech about IEPs. All IEPs are honored, of course. And like I said, the only thing that is tricky is if your child has a 1211 or an 811, we unfortunately don't have that.
And I will interject too. So if you do decide to register and enroll at the school, one of the registration forms is a special education information form. And so that will help us know, what sorts of services your child might need. And if they do have an IEP, on our registration as well, there will be a page where you can upload your child's IEP. So Ms. Halpern and our special education team can make sure they review that. And so that, whatever services your children are mandated to receive, we're going to make sure that they're getting that. But like Daniela said, unfortunately, we don't have those more restrictive classroom settings, those 12-to-1-to-1 rooms and those 8-to-1-to-1 or 6-to-1-to-1. And, tonight is all about, making sure the parents have all that information so that they can make the best choices for their families. So, yeah.
Raj, I think you could answer this one. Criteria that gives preference.
Oh, great question. So have some lottery things here, and I said I would get to that. So just to lead off again, so for families who have maybe not submitted an application yet, I do want to encourage you to do that sooner rather than later. So we do have an open application period, which started on October 1st and runs until 11:59 p.m. April 1st. And so so long as you submit your application in that window, you will be eligible for our lottery, which will be held on Wednesday, April 4th at 11 a.m. We will broadcast it live. It's not super exciting to watch. It's a lot of button clicking, really. And we do click a button at the end of the presentation. And so everybody will get their lottery results. So you don't have to watch it live if you don't want to, but I will get in to some of the nitty gritty and how the preferences or priorities work at the school. So in our lottery, we give the following I'll do the preferences first, the priorities first. And the first is if you have a sibling who already attends the school, those are the students who are going to be pulled first for the lottery. So that is the first one. The next lottery priority is if you have a parent, a mother or father, who works as a staff member in the school. That is the second lottery priority. The third lottery priority is if you are a resident of Community School District 22, which is where HLA is located. And then the fourth lottery priority is basically anybody who lives in the 5 boroughs outside of those preferences above. And so in addition to those lottery priorities or preferences, we also, as part of our whole lottery, some students will receive a weight, a 2.0 weight. So if you want to think of it as like pulling ping pong balls, students who come from homes where they are not fluent English speakers, or ELL or MLL students, those students will receive a 2.0 weight in the lottery. So that's basically like having 2 ping pong balls instead of 1. And so that they still apply all of the priorities, but that is basically how the lottery works and what our preferences and priorities are. And that's pretty standard across most charter schools. And so we're much the same as everybody else in that respect.
Great. I think that also answered the next question. I want to answer the question about curriculum. So the curriculum that we use for mathematics, we use Eureka Math. That is essentially Engage New York. It is available online. You can view it at any time. It is 100% aligned to the Engage curriculum that New York State prescribes. Eureka Math is a really nice program. I've taught several different math programs in my career. This is my favorite one. It really, it's higher level for kids, and it really prepares them to think on a higher level mathematically. It doesn't hand them the answers, it pushes them, and it's also differentiated a lot for different levels. So I love how Eureka Math gets kids to think. And I think it's one of the best there that they have to offer. For ELA, we use Expeditionary Learning, which is also Engage New York. So that's it's a New York State aligned curriculum. This year, the Department of Education put out a memo and requirement that all schools had to choose one of 3 choices for ELA curriculum, and EL or Expeditionary Learning was one of those choices. And so that's the one that we have. That's taught 5 days a week. It teaches reading. Younger students usually read shorter passages, and as they get older, they start to do novel studies. All of this is Common Core aligned. So I just want to clarify that. And lastly, we also have close reading. So that's our other ELA component. Close reading is where it teaches students to read short passages of different genres, and it teaches them how to really identify important information and answer higher level questions about the text. So those are the 3 things that we use for ELA and math. In math, we also use number stories for the younger kids. Number stories is basically a lesson where they put up 1-word problem on the board, and the teacher teaches the kids to think through the problem from all different angles. They use that problem to learn math strategies and to learn how to solve a problem in different ways. You'll hear a lot of discourse where kids talk to each other about the problem. They challenge each other's answers. It's a very awesome way to break down math into a very bite-sized component and really help kids fly. So that's something else that we use for math. For science, we use Science Dimensions, which is a curriculum that's aligned with New York State as well. And for social studies, we use a combination of My World Social Studies, which is also a curriculum. And we combine that with like public speaking, debate, right? And then kids that really enjoy debate could also join our debate team, which I forgot to say before. We currently, our debate team, I don't know, we're kind of like the best in my opinion, and we win a lot of trophies, and the kids are super proud of how well they're doing this year and last year. They compete in our region, and it's a really nice way to honestly get ready for high school and college because they are just rocking it. So it's nice. And kids in 7th and 8th grade can join.
I can certainly attest there are a lot of trophies in the trophy case by the main entrance to the school. And so it looks like we've kind of made our way through all of the questions, but there was one more I just want to say a little bit more about and kind of clarify because I think is relevant to everybody. There was a question just about like my chances of getting in through the lottery. And so I just want to say a little bit more about this, especially for kindergarten families. What we tend to do, just from having been doing this work for many, many years, Daniela and I, we have a very good sense of the data. And what's more is we typically will over offer kindergarten, because if our school is the first choice, and if you feel like it's the right place for your family, we don't want you to have to wait on the wait list through April, through May, or through June, and things like that. We want to do everything we can to make your life easier that way. And we know from doing this work that just because we make an offer to families, we certainly hope that we're their first choice, but sometimes we might be their second or their third choice, and just because the family does receive an offer, they may ultimately decide that they don't want to enroll. And so, being really familiar with the data, we do everything in our power, especially at the kindergarten level where we know we get the most applications, to not make families wait. And we do that. And kind of what's more, and not just for kindergarten, but for all the grades. Like, look, if you feel like our school in your heart of hearts is where you want to be, we're going to do everything in our power to help your family find a seat. We try to be really diligent after the lottery, to go through our wait lists as soon as a family decides they might not want to accept their seat. And so throughout the summer, we're continuing to make offers. We're continuing to make our way through our wait list. And so, that is certainly our commitment to you, where if you feel like this is the place that's right for your family, we're going to advocate and do everything we can. I'm excited to say that right now, our enrollment has increased pretty significantly over the last few years. And I really think it's a testament to the job that Daniela has been doing at the school and to the satisfaction of families, and just, I think, the really positive vibes that have been going out in the community. So that's something we're really, really excited about. And I just want to take a second to, Daniela, thank you again. I want to thank our families again for joining this evening. We know everybody's really busy, and so we just want to wish everybody happy holidays. And we hope that you have a wonderful evening. And if you have already applied, that is awesome, because it means you are on our email list and our newsletter list. So Daniela and I will continue to send you newsletter updates each month, because we're going to have some fun family engagement events that are coming up a little bit later in the winter. And it'll be really wonderful ways for your families to come in, to meet other future families, to meet current families, and just really get a sense of what we're all about at the school. So be on the lookout for those. And we hope, again, everybody has a wonderful evening. And thank you again, Daniela. And I hope everybody has a great night.
Have a great night, everyone.
Bye.